What's going on, everybody? This is Jose Betancourt from talkingaboutgames.com and the Postgame Report podcast. You can find us on iTunes. And of course, thank you for viewing my videos. I'm playing the beta for Rainbow Six Siege. This is on the PlayStation 4. You're going to hear some chatter. I didn't have my microphone connected, so the cool thing about recording directly from a PlayStation 4, which is a built-in feature, is that you can pick up chat and it will be recorded as well. So I didn't have a microphone, so the chat was coming out of my television. That is why it's so clear. So that's just something if you're interested in recording via the PlayStation 4, recording gameplay. There's a lot of people who do it, and they also do commentary over the gameplay. And if you didn't know, you can actually have your microphone connected while you're recording, and you can do commentary at the same time. The audio quality is not exactly the best, and sometimes you're not going to be heard above the actual gameplay audio. So in that case, you have to adjust your audio settings before you even begin to play and make sure that your voice is the dominant audible so that you could be heard on your recording. Just some tips. I figured, what the hell, throw it out there since I was talking about recording on the PlayStation 4. So this is the Rainbow Six Siege beta on the PlayStation 4 once again. I was a little skeptical going in. And let me remind you that the full retail version is already available. But I wanted to throw this video out because I had a pretty decent game when you consider that it was my first time playing this. And as a huge fan of Rainbow Six 3, which was my go-to game on the original Xbox, I really wanted to test this out because I was skeptical, as I stated earlier. They're taking a whole new approach when you compare the previous Rainbow Six games on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. So they took a totally different approach. This particular game, Siege, is based on teamwork, and it's crucial, absolutely crucial, that you communicate with your team and that you're on the same wavelength. Now, I didn't have my microphone on, but the guys were speaking to me, and so I was able to help them out. But as an experienced gamer, as someone who plays a lot of first-person shooters and was fully aware of what was going on and what type of game this is going to be, I didn't go crazy. I didn't put the team in jeopardy. And sometimes, as you see in this particular clip, I was somewhat straying off, but not in a way where I was going to sabotage this particular level. We were playing against the computer, but I was flanking the enemy, and I got lucky a few times that the enemy was looking at the rest of the team, and I was able to contribute in a positive way. But the game is out. The full retail version is out of Rainbow Six Siege, and from what I'm hearing, people are enjoying it, and I'm glad. I was a little worried, and, Ubisoft has done a good job. Also, you're going to see some gameplay footage of Star Wars Battlefront, full retail version. It's on the PlayStation 4 as well, and I did pretty good. I'm enjoying, I'm bringing up Star Wars Battlefront because there's this stigma that the game is not worth $60. Now, of course, that is all dependent on the individual. I could tell you that it's worth $60, but you may not think so for various reasons. Same thing occurred with the Order 1886. People thought it was a bad game, number one, because of others' opinions. Other people felt that it was too short, and others felt that it didn't have multiplayer, so it wasn't worth $60. So there were various factors as to why people would assume a game is not worth the full retail price. Now, Star Wars Battlefront does not have a campaign. You do have missions that you could play with a friend or solo, and that's about it. So these these particular training missions or co-op campaigns are meant to help you with points and unlock certain items and pretty much train you for multiplayer battle against other teams. You could play as high as 20 versus 20, which is insane. Absolutely insane. There's really no super strategy here, a la Halo 5, where I've stated on my podcast that with Halo 5, if you have a team of 4 and you guys are in sync and have a game plan and you guys know absolutely how the other guy is going to perform, you can create a strategy that will totally dominate the game. Star Wars Battlefront is just too many people. You could partner up with somebody else. You could partner up with, I think, about 5 people or something like that, and communicate amongst each other via chat, because there's no in-game chat. But there's really no room for strategy because the game is so huge. The multiplayer battles are so huge. So it's a little difficult to do that. But Star Wars Battlefront is extremely fun. It's one of those games that I really could care less about my kill-death ratio. Of course, I want to win. I want my team to win. I want to gain points so I can unlock certain items, unlock certain collectibles. But the point of Star Wars Battlefront is to have a great time. And I can't emphasize how good the controls are, how good the visuals are, and how good the entire Star Wars universe is represented in the video game medium. It is just absolutely gorgeous. If you're a Star Wars fan, or even if you don't have to be a super fan, you can enjoy the Star Wars movies, and once you start playing this game, you're going to be really impressed. Now, does that warrant a $60 price tag? Once again, that is up to the individual. I can't tell people go out and buy it because it's worth it. You might not have the same taste as I have. I enjoy it. I paid the $60. I actually had, in another video, I had explained how I had some coupons at Best Buy, and I was able to basically get the season pass for free with these coupons and pay the full retail price of $60 for the super duper $120 version. That's a lot of money for a game, but when you think about all of the DLC packets we're getting, whether it's in one shot or in a 6-month span, a la Batman Arkham Knight, we're no longer paying $60 for video games. We're paying $90, $100. DLC is here to stay. And of course, a lot of us say, vote with your wallets. That is the only way, not developers, but publishers are going to listen. A lot of people assume that developers are greedy, yada, yada, yada. But if I've been in this industry for 10 years, so I fully understand how this industry runs. The publisher is telling developers, let's chop this game up. Let's create DLC. This is all planned before the game is even developed. The publisher wants to make as much money as possible. The developer needs a job. The developer wants to create something that they have envisioned. And so if they're working for a big publisher or they're working for a very big studio, they're going to do what they got to do to make money, put food on the table, and to show their passion. Just because, let's say, somebody works for Tiburon, doesn't necessarily mean that because they make the same, a lot of people are pissed off about Madden being basically the same every year. It's not the developer's fault. They're given a timeline. They're told, make this game and make it by a certain time and do what you got to do to release it when we want it released, or else face the consequence. Consequences is that you're fired. So a lot of people are quick to blame developers for DLC. It's the publisher. It's EA. It's Microsoft. So, not just, and I'm not just calling out those two specifically. I'm talking about all publishers. So people need to understand that a game like Star Wars Battlefront was already, it was already determined that DLC was going to be available, what type of DLC, when it was going to come out, and what it was going to be priced at. Those things change, of course, as DLC gets older. The price of DLC goes down. But if you want to play these specific, let's say a specific map that looks hot, and everybody's playing, everybody in your friends list is playing it, you're gonna want to buy it when it comes out, and that's what they hope happens. They play with your emotions. All of these publishers, as a matter of fact, all big retailers. You look at Apple, they base everything on emotion. They bring out a new phone, everyone is psyched, people want to get it. I'm guilty of that as well. Everyone who creates a product is creating it so that you feel the necessity, that you feel like there's a need for it. Same thing happens with DLC, so don't be surprised and don't be disappointed. This is the market. Another thing people were disappointed with is the fact that Sony, and I talked about this in my last video. Now, I made a mistake, and I was saying that the PlayStation 2 games that were coming out on the PlayStation Network for purchase, they're $9.99 to $14.99. I was saying that they're going to be native 1080p. They are upscaled to 1080p. Now, that's a technical term. So the general public, the general user base for the PlayStation 4 console is not going to care that there's a difference between upscale and native. So I guess the best way to put it is that these PlayStation 2 games are being processed to fit a 1080p television. They're not natively 1080p. They were not created to run in full 1080p resolution. So I made a mistake, and I do apologize about that. But people are still complaining about the pricing of these PlayStation 2 games. Once again, there's actual work being done to these PlayStation 2 games. And what is surprising is that there are a lot of people buying these PlayStation 2 games. And why not? The titles that have been released in this new program for the PlayStation 4, they're some of the best games in recent history. We're talking about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Final Fantasy VII. Those are two of the biggest titles, biggest game changers in their genre. So, of course, people are going to want to buy those. I'm not going to buy them. I said I was going to try them out for myself. I still haven't decided which game to try out. Eventually, I'll try them out, and I'll be able to talk about it from based on my experience. But until then, the feedback I'm getting is that people are enjoying going back to these games. Something I wasn't able to talk about last week was the PlayStation experience and virtual reality. Sony is creating the PlayStation VR headset. And it looks like the Oculus Rift. It goes on your head. You have this giant goggles covering your eyes, and you have virtual reality gameplay. It was demoed during the PlayStation experience. The demo during the conference wasn't the best demo in the world. It was pretty tough to look at. But once again, based on the experience of people who were there, they fell in love with it. So it's interesting to see what price the PlayStation VR is going to launch at. And we're seeing that there's quite a few games already out. Some of them are near completion. So that's a positive. And some of these games actually look like, quote unquote, current gen visuals. So there's several things with virtual reality that I'm really interested in seeing how it develops. First of all is the length of these games. How long can we play while having these virtual reality goggles on our head? Will we get sick? Me, I have to worry about motion sickness. Excuse me. Playing Turok, I used to get motion sick, so I have to really double check as far as virtual reality and motion sickness. The other thing is the pricing of these games. Are they going to be $60? Because once again, the value is going to be questioned. If these games do come out at $60, we better get a game that is minimum 10 hours of completion. So that remains to be seen how that is going to be handled. We can play movies that are fed from the PlayStation 4, so we could use it as a second screen. So if somebody's watching TV, you could put on these virtual reality glasses. They're going to have OLED screen, I believe 5.7 inches. So it's about the size of an iPhone 6 Plus, somewhat like that. And so you can watch movies, so that's going to be really cool. The other thing I'm worried about, as I stated, pricing. Are we going to get something that is $3.99 or possibly $2.99? I'm thinking that the sweet spot might be $3.50 to $3.50. I mean, that's me hoping that it doesn't go any more than $3.50. They cannot price themselves out of the market before this thing even launches. The PlayStation VR is going to set a new precedence for this type of technology on video game consoles. I'm not talking about PC. Oculus Rift is already available on the PC. But for the home console, Sony is launching this before Microsoft and before Nintendo. Now, Nintendo tried the Virtual Boy many years ago, and that was a huge failure. It was big, clunky, and the visuals were like horrific. But that was at a different time, so Nintendo took a chance. It failed, but Nintendo is capable financially of taking a chance like that. Sony, they don't have the money that Nintendo has. And right now, the PlayStation 4 console is on a roll. It's dominating. It's over 30 million right now. So they need to maintain that momentum. And a poor launch for the PlayStation VR can really hurt that momentum. So there's a lot riding on PlayStation VR. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really hoping that it is not priced out of the market, because I really want one. And lastly, I just want to talk about being a content creator and stepping your ground, staying your ground, and keeping your integrity in check. I had somebody diss me on Twitter, diss my brand, diss my podcast, my website, and diss me, and basically saying that we have no respect for other people, which is bull, and that we're not reputable and blah, blah, blah. Now, being reputable is all dependent on the individual, of course, but we were talking about a charity, and we're trying to raise money so we can buy kids video game consoles. Kids with cancer, we did it last year. We bought them an Xbox One. And this dude, instead of, he's supposed to be a friend of ours, so instead of helping us pimp out our, website and link to this charity, he was like, no, I only donate to reputable places, and you guys haven't been that. And that, I was like, what the hell? Even though I've known this dude for a while, I cut him off. I was like, you know what? Nobody's going to disrespect me like that. I don't care if you're playing or not. It was unwarranted, and you got to hold your ground. When you're a content creator, you can't sell your soul for a few listeners, a few clicks. You got to let people know that you're an individual and you're going to be respected. You might lose listeners, you might lose friends, but that's a part of life. At the end of the day, you need to know that you could sleep at night because you kept your integrity in check. But that's my advice. Anyway, thank you for viewing my videos. I'm Jose Betancourt. Talk to you soon.